Let's go boom.
What is up, Top Shot family? Happy Monday to you as we are headed into the conference finals. I am Abby Chin, and we will be here with you for the next hour as we break down the conference semifinal playoffs for that first half hour. And then we have everyone's favorite Match 4 standing by for the wheel for the Eastern Conference playoffs, the Eastern and Western Conference playoffs that will decide what the challenges are for that. So that's coming up in the second half hour. Right now, let me introduce you to the king of the content curation den. This is one of the men in charge of picking all of the moments on NBA Top Shot, and that is Mr. Austin Kent. He is joined by his right-hand man, Brandon Soul, right? Is that what we're calling it? The heart and soul of the curation den?
Whatever you want to say, Abby, is cool with me. I'm happy to be back.
An evolution. And Brandon, that's why I love having you, because whatever I say goes. I'm kidding. You guys were here to talk about an awesome round of the playoffs, the semifinals in each conference. Is there a certain place you want to start? Austin, maybe something in my neck of the woods, a pick that went wrong for you?
Yes. We need to come clean. I need to come clean at least. And we need to give the Celtics team their due. You know, I underestimated them in this round. And I mean, I underestimated them in the first round. They've just been so good, proving dummies like me wrong. We were thinking about you as soon as that we saw that Celtics, we saw that the Celtics were going to be advancing. So how are you feeling? Are you on cloud nine right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. Right now, my biggest concern is health for the Celtics. I think they're a little banged up, and then heading into what is going to be a very physical series against the number one seed in the Miami Heat. That series against the Bucks was just so gritty and grimy, and every game just had a different personality. It was so fun to be there for every one of those, and to see Giannis in person for 7 straight games. They don't call him the Greek Freak for nothing. He is incredible. But being in the building for Jason Tatum's fourth quarter takeover in Game 6, and then watching Batman himself, Grant Williams, have an out-of-body experience. I mean, how many Grant Williams 3 moments can you really include on NBA Top Shot? I don't know. But he was incredible last night.
We've got quite the conundrum on our hands, I will say, Abby, so you're right about that. And talking about that series, it's impressive what the Celtics have done, right? They just have role players all over the floor that step up when they need to, whether it's Al Horford, Grant Williams, as you said, Peyton Pritchard in Game 7. Derek White all series long with his defense in particular is proving to be a huge pickup at the deadline, not to mention the 2 stars, Tatum with the game of his life in Game 6, and Brown just a steady beat over the course of the series. They just show depth matters, and when the Bucks are missing Middleton, their second, maybe third best player, it just wasn't enough.
It looked like in that series, after watching that team for 7 games, Middleton was definitely the second best player, particularly on offense when it comes to creating shots. Last night, I mean, none of their role players could hit anything, and it was rough for them.
Yeah, Giannis certainly started to just look so exhausted. It's like you could feel it, through the screen. Call the credit to Jason Tatum, especially this guy who was this star bordering on a superstar almost right out of the gates, as a young player. And I think beyond any shadow of a doubt, he took that maybe next step. At least that's how I view it from my perspective. He leveled up in a way that, very few human beings are capable of, and he took that next step. So it's fun to see that.
I mean, it was important. It was needed, essential, I would say. And I think it also, like you said, that's what catapults him into that next tier of legit NBA superstars. And Austin, honestly, I don't blame you for being a little surprised, caught off guard by the Celtics. I mean, the start of this season was rough, and the turnaround. I mean, you guys have watched so much basketball. Brandon, do you ever remember a team that went from so bad to now so great, playing in the Eastern Conference Finals? And I mean, you could argue a favorite.
I guess like the first one that comes to mind is like the Heatles, right? Like they started a couple seasons just like
they had LeBron.
A few LeBron teams have been like that, right? They just start poor, but no one ever questions it because they have LeBron James. So it's a little bit different in that way when I want to say December, people were talking about blowing the Celtics up. They're like, they need a rebuild. It's not working. Brown, Tatum, they don't work together, et cetera, et cetera. Look at them now. I mean, like you said, they very well might.
I lost Brandon's mic. Awesome.
Were you confident, Abby, that the Celtics were going to win that series? They're down 2-1. They keep giving up lead after lead in the fourth quarter. I need to know how you were feeling through the progress of that series.
For the record, I am wearing my blinged out Celtics shirt. So when I say that I did lose belief for a little while there, heading into Game 6 in Milwaukee after the devastating loss in Game 5, the way they lost that, having a 14-point lead late and then just watching it piddle away. No, I was very down going into Game 6. I had very little belief. But the Celtics, doing what they have done all season long and showing that resolve, showing just how resilient they are. And I've just been so impressed by the leadership of both Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who people wanted to break up, which now sounds insane. And then Al Horford, who's just been that steady vet coming back. How is he doing this at 35 years old? I saw in the comments, no Daniel Tice love. That's right. Tice, the war on Tice never ends, for the record. And yeah, all the role players. It's just been such a fun season. But so my question to you is, how do you guys pick the moments? There were a few iconic Jayson Tatum moments. Jaylen Brown had some monster dunks in transition. And then, Giannis is just, every time he touches the ball, you feel like something incredible is going to happen.
Yeah, it's not easy. And it's a balance, really trying to balance just capturing those sort of just those viral moments that we all shared. And, having a community just as passionate about basketball as ours is a great way to start. Like just seeing what are people going to remember, when they reflect back on playoffs past. You mentioned just a great, shared experience, which I think was us all watching Al Horford evolve into Optimus Prime on national TV or whatever that was. It was just fantastic. And then we balance it just with like the reality of the product and the set. And just, we want to make sure that the set makes sense from beginning to end. We've got 4 rounds to go through, and we've got some sort of guardrails that we put in place just to make sure that we're visiting a fair, balance of players and teams and stuff like that. So there is an element of balancing those things. But I think the main driving force is just finding those, beloved playoff memories. That's all we're trying to do, is just distill that into moment form, as consistently as we can.
You guys, I will never forget, you brought up that Al Horford, the moment, and it wasn't quite a flex. It was just like, so I was sitting in the media section. Usually, we don't have the games in the second round. So typically I'm courtside, but I was up, pretty up high. In the media section, though, where you're not supposed to cheer. But when Al Horford threw that dunk down on Giannis, I smacked the table. I screamed. All the beat writers looked at me like, pull it together. And I was like, this was amazing. And you could just feel it, like the entire energy of the game, the entire energy in the arena, because we were in Milwaukee, changed, and that was incredible.
So what now, Abby, though? 7-game series with the defending champs, like this extremely taxing series you have to think on the team. And now guess what? You have Miami. Not exactly just like the most finesse team out there. They're going to beat you down. PJ Tucker, Jimmy Butler, who knows about Kyle Lowry's health. How confident are you going into the next series for the Celtics?
I'm not going to doubt this group anymore. What they have shown me this season is that they are able to overcome any adversity that is laid in their path. And so until that changes, I am going to believe in them, but I agree with you. They are banged up. Rob Williams was supposedly available to play last night, the Time Lord, who was dealing with a bone bruise in his surgically repaired knee. And so he did not touch the floor. Ime said that was a use if needed. And clearly that was a break the glass in case there's an absolute emergency. But they're banged up. Jayson Tatum's been dealing with a wrist thing, he said, for the last couple of months. Marcus Smart limps around like he's 80 years old just to get anywhere in the arena. And so, yes, there's no question they're banged up. But I asked Jaylen Brown this last night if they have anything left in the tank. And he said, at this point, it is all mental. We're all dealing with something and we will push through. So I believe in them. Let's talk about the Heat, though, and that Philadelphia series. We're going to have to give Matt Shore a hard time. His Sixers put up minimal fight. Is that what we're going to call it? I mean, I know they missed Joel Embiid for those first 2 games. That was big. And we got one big James Harden game. One. But then, I mean, the Sixers looked like the Sixers. The Heat looked like the Heat. Brandon, what do you think?
I mean, we were just talking about Celtics Bucks, and we talked about how important depth is, and I think that's what we saw with the Sixers, right? Is they just didn't have that, and they needed Embiid. Obviously, when he misses those first 2 games, they're not really close. He comes back, and the series is 2-2 after that. So who knows what would have happened if he was healthy all series? But I think most people still would have leaned the Heat, given the depth issue. You need Harden to play well every single game. I'm not sure that happened. Maxey, next year's going to be a big year for him. He really showed who he can be. Is he that guy next year? Is he a star? Is he an all-star caliber player? That's going to be exciting to watch. But the Heat, just so solid all around. Jimmy Butler just decides to turn it on, and he's like, okay, it's time. It's the playoffs. I guess it's my time.
I love it. You got to love playoff Jimmy. This matchup just felt like one straight out of the gates. It was hard not to notice, like, hey, we're putting like this incredibly solid, well-rounded, tough team in the Heat, like matched up with, like, the top-heavy, star sort of centric Sixers team. And I wondered like how that would hold up in the playoffs. Of course, missing Embiid and having Embiid sort of have to get back into it right in the mix of things doesn't help. But I just think you have one team that's just way better suited to really compete hard in a playoff series. And I feel like we just kind of watched that sort of play out.
Watching the elimination game, the difference was so stark in the way that the Heat play and the force and the purpose with which everything that they do, whereas the Sixers just looked like they were scrambling and trying to, funnel everything towards Joel, which is what you have to do, but to put so much on him. And then he dealt with that orbital fracture that just looked so painful. Every time he went up for a rebound, I flinched. And then it was too much for the Sixers. But so then the question becomes, where do they go from here, right? I mean, James Harden has $47 million on his contract next year, which is a player option, obviously. But I mean, if you're him, you have to opt in, right? Because who's going to give you that kind of money going forward? I don't know.
The only thing is could he potentially say, all right, are you interested in me long-term? Take a pay cut for the year and instead vouch for longevity, like a 4-year deal or something like that on a cheaper annual salary.
At what, right? There's no way you go from 47 to taking 25 and then it takes you 2 years to make back whatever you were going to make. I guess you're
he's getting up there in age, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to see where they go.
I wonder too, like, I think we move so fast in this space, NBA space, I don't think we necessarily give them enough like patience for the fact that this team was sort of thrown together at the deadline. Like, that's tough to be like perfectly in sync. Then you throw injuries on top of that. So like, is the sample size just too small to, abandon that experiment? Like, but then again, what do you want to really commit yourself into long term? They're in sort of that tough place, but I would be confident that, with a full off season, or at least just more time, working together, maybe they could find a better way to optimize maybe the pairing of Harden with the rest of that team. So it's tough to know though, when the figures that you're talking about are that high. It's not a fun place to be in if you're the GM.
Austin, it is. Are you always this positive when it comes to your team? Although, are you seeing in the comments, you got a fresh cut. Someone likes it. Someone else called you a stud muffin, Austin. So it's your wife that's in
fresh
here.
Cut. Yeah, I've planted them into the comments. So right. I just need the confidence boost over the course of the stream. That's
but when it comes to the Raptors and things, can you be that patient? I agree with you completely, especially after having seen the Celtics and the learning curve, how steep that was, bringing in a new staff and even though the core has been there. Al Horford said it's different coming back. And so, yeah, to make such major changes at the deadline and then expect them to challenge for a championship is a big ask.
It is. And to answer your question, I am laughably optimistic about all teams, all players, basically. I spent a lot of time rooting for some very seriously questionable, like the Jonas Jerebko Pistons era. Like, I've got a lot of faith in my teams, and I like to apply that across the board. I like to give the teams the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, like you're saying with the Celtics example, it's just the perfect, evidence of that. Like, hey, let's not write this team off. Like, and there were people, like, as the deadline was approaching, that we're, exploring that option. Like, what's going to happen with this duo? And they stuck with it, and I'm so happy that they did that. I feel like the Boston sports fan base is very spoiled in lots of ways, so I'm okay when the Celtics are kind of okay. But no, fine, we'll have another.
You're the only one. You're okay with being down. I see how it is. Jonas Jerebko, though, one of my favorites. He was awesome.
Oh yeah.
As a person, he's still playing basketball. Follow him on Instagram. He was with the Celtics for a little while. Sorry, Brandon, are you as optimistic as well? I feel like that's rare, Austin.
Am I as optimistic on what? Sorry, my camera keeps overheating, so I'm a huge distraction over here with the technical.
You're in Oklahoma City, right?
Yes. Am I as optimistic with?
Let's go Sixers first.
Okay.
And then overall, just in general, in life when it comes to
okay, just my overall disposition.
and when it comes to basketball and your fandom.
I'm not super optimistic in the Sixers. I don't think they've really given me a reason to be over the past years. I think they have a ceiling of being pretty good. I'm scared that they can't break through that ceiling because they've not given me a reason to believe that they can. Sorry to be insensitive there, but that's just the way I feel. Overall in life, yeah, I am an optimistic person, I would say. For instance, the lottery is tomorrow, and I think the Thunder are going to get the number 1 pick.
Nice. I've been on a team that got the number 1 pick, so I believe in you, Brandon.
It's one of the biggest days of my life.
I have been a part of when the team got the number 1 pick, and it's awesome. And then Danny traded away, but we got Jason Tatum, so I'm not complaining.
Good trade.
Yeah. Solid trade.
Which is a nice callback to what I was just saying. The Sixers have kind of done it to themselves.
Yeah. There's been a lot of turmoil in Sixerland. Are you guys Miami believers? Brandon, I'll start with you.
Yes, I am. I don't see how you can't. They just have this approach to the game that it's got to be scary to play against. Every day you got to be prepared. You can't just walk into that game. You better be ready to fight because they're going to. And it's something I can't ignore is PJ Tucker on that team. Like, he's just finding himself on winning team after winning team after winning team. He's such a winning player, and he fits with that roster so well. Max Strus. Little preview. We have a moment coming from him in the next drop because he's totally earned it. I mean, he's playing 40 minutes a game for this Heat roster, a stacked roster at that, and he is showing himself. I think he finished the series with 2 straight double-doubles, which is just crazy because it wouldn't shock me if 50% of people that watch the league don't even know who Max Strus is. Well, it's time to get to know who this guy is. So that team is just so deep. They're all on the same page all the time. Big credit to Spoelstra as a coach, and big credit to Jimmy Butler as a leader.
Yeah, definitely. Like when you think about systems in the NBA, like the Miami Heat organization, there are a few organizations that I have more confidence in them. Like, just to get the most out of every single player on their roster. You just like look through their depth chart, and there's players that have stepped up. They don't need all of them every single night, but they know that they can call upon players like Max Strus, players like Gabe Vincent that can really just start dealing damage if they need them. And that's really fun to see when you see it. A franchise that does that like year after year after year, it really makes you sort of excited to sort of support that.
Okay, so really, you guys are picking Heat in that series in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about it, honestly. I'm scared to think about it. It's tough.
It's gonna be a battle.
It's gonna be a battle for sure.
It's also why we're doing 1 o'clock today. I'm headed to Miami.
Austin, where are you going? Where are you going with that series? I feel like you're going Miami because you're just a Boston hater.
Here's what I will say. My gut is telling me to hop on the Boston bandwagon. Ooh. After which is a departure, as you know.
The Celtics Boston bandwagon?
I'm going to hop onto the bandwagon just after seeing the resilience that they showed against against the Bucks. Like, playoff Jimmy is horrifying, and that like we said, the depth of that Heat team is just so imposing and impressive. But it just feels like the Celtics have something. They've got lightning in the bottle right now, and let's just see how far that goes. I got them going to the finals. We'll talk later about beyond that, but if I had to go with my gut right now, I'd be saying Boston.
I am worried about Miami's energy levels for Boston's sake. I mean, you had a 4-1 series against Atlanta in the first round, and then, frankly, not that taxing of a series against the 76ers. That Heat team with energy is a little bit scary. I lean Heat, but I'm not confident.
I agree. Playoff Jimmy, a little scary, but not as scary as Giannis coming barreling down the lane at full speed in transition. So the Celtics can deal with Giannis. I'm going to take them against Butler, Bam, Spo, all of them. Okay, let's go west. And let's just get out of the way the sad ending to the Phoenix-Dallas series last night. Game 7, everybody's fired up. The Celtics and Bucks, I mean, that got a little away. But then, holy cow, Austin, what was going through your mind watching that last night?
Oh, my gosh. We've spent the last, 2 years, I guess maybe even 3 years if you count the OKC year for Chris Paul, just talking about that sort of turnaround at the end of his career. And it's been very positive for very real good reasons. Like, what he's done has just been so great. And to see all of that sort of optimism sort of squashed in one emphatic, crushing defeat. Like, we want to be so happy for Luka and for this Mavs team. Like, what they've done is great, but it's almost like equally like counterbalanced just by just the depression levels surrounding how that ended. This season ended, so I was stunned.
Home floor, the fans, it was sad.
Absolutely stunned,
But you said it though, Austin, right? You want to be happy for the Mavs, and how can you not? Like, look at Luka. Like, he's been in the playoffs a couple times before, lost in the first round both times, and now he's breaking through, and he's showing every single game he steps on the court, he's the best player. He is the best player on that court. He's unstoppable. You can't guard him. He's one of the strongest players on the court, if not the strongest. He's making big shot after big shot, and his team works so well around him. Big credit to Jason Kidd, doing a great job with that team. And you see the way they've built that roster with Finney Smith and Reggie Bullock and Jalen Brunson. These are all like hard-nosed guys that play both ends, and Maxi Kleber. And they just fit in nicely around him, and Luka makes the right play, and they knock down the shot. I'm frankly excited to see him there. We're going to talk about Golden State, I'm sure. I'm excited to see that matchup. I think it's going to be really, really interesting.
I do think it's going to be really interesting. And just for everyone who is here, we are talking playoffs right now, getting through the semifinals, and we will preview the conference finals coming up a little bit. But we have the wheel. Matt Shore is standing by. In just a few minutes, we will get there. But right now, we are continuing to talk about these amazing semifinal playoff series. And what was incredible to me throughout this series is, we just talked about Jason Tatum and his rise to superstardom. And I know that Luka has been on that level. I mean, he was 5th in MVP voting, but to see him, like you said, do this in the playoffs, in the second round, and be so unstoppable. And I think that that's something that he turned it on last night that we could see is defensively, is that when he wants to play on that end of the floor, just because he's so big, so strong, so smart, he can do it. It's a matter of, I think, putting his mind to it. And that's a really scary thought.
Yeah, they were picking on him early in the series defensively, and then he comes back and takes pride in that end of the floor, which is great to see. And you think, going into that series, you think, what better matchup could there be for Luka Doncic and Mikal Bridges, right? One of the best perimeter defenders in the league.
In the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
That's right. And turns out that's not going to get it done. I don't know what the answer for this guy is.
I don't think anybody does, especially in the clutch. Like, he's so good in those moments as well. And then Spencer Dinwiddie turning it on in that Game 7. I mean, for the NFT crypto world, Web3, let's go Spencer Dinwiddie.
There you go.
Getting his salary in crypto. Okay, then, so this is going to be quite a matchup against Golden State. And let's take a little while to talk about that series, because we did get early on, before Ja got hurt, we got to see the Grizzlies, which was just such a fun team all season long. I remember them coming to Boston, and there was just so much joy with that group. I know they're so young, and you got to go through these sort of playoff defeats to get to where you want to go. And then the dance, I forget what that's called, and I just will embarrass myself for trying to do that. But there were some great moments in that series, Austin.
Yeah, this Memphis team has just been a joy to watch, and they've been this fun, energetic core, for two years now. I've basically, ever since Ja Morant's rookie season 3 years ago, I guess, they've had these pieces in place. Just what feels like just really solid chemistry that you can see from anywhere immediately. So to see them keep sort of leveling up in terms of what they're capable of as a franchise while maintaining that sort of dynamic to them. Like, all you have to do is just watch Ja Morant dance, obviously, or just watch the way that Dillon Brooks plays or Jaren Jackson Jr. celebrates. You can tell this is a team that's just having fun every step of the way. So the fact that they've been able to develop and keep, they haven't reached the place and stagnated. They've now they're a second round team that was putting some scare into the Warriors. That's impressive. That's amazing. So I think we're very lucky to have Memphis. I think that the more solid title contender won, and I think that's okay. I'm excited to see what the Grizzlies come back with next year, because I think they can look at this season and only be happy with where they're at, and excited to keep building on that, just because that team is electric to watch, whether you're a direct Grizzlies supporter or just any basketball supporter, period.
Yeah, what a season. It's a shame that Ja got hurt. Would have been great to watch that series play out. Although I don't know if it would have ended any differently, but they were the 2 seed. No one expected that. They weren't supposed to be here. So they're
especially with how many games Ja missed throughout the regular season.
That's right. And you saw how they performed when he missed. And it shows how, again, talking about depth earlier, here it is. They're a deep team. They're complete. They do it on both ends. They don't need him to succeed, but he raises their ceiling, right? So it'll be interesting to see how they move forward. What do they do in the offseason? Do they feel like they're ready to actually compete for a championship next year? Do they go make a big splash in free agency or on the trade market or on draft night or something like that? So I can't wait to see where that goes. Ja just is electric. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Probably the funnest player to watch in the league, and the hardest one to make to figure out what his top shot moments are going to be.
Seriously, you have your choice, right?
Yeah, every night. It's every night with that guy.
We've also been talking a lot about Jaren Jackson Jr. Obviously, the hype was so high around Jaren Jackson Jr. straight out of the gates, right? Then solid rookie season, ended up dealing with injuries for what felt like parts of maybe 2 seasons, and I don't know that he reached that sort of that legitimate, unquestionable unicorn status yet. But I think we could see why there was so much hype from day one, just seeing the way he could turn it on in some games. And we were just talking about this earlier today about how the 3-point shot, it's either on and he's going 4 for 8, or it's off and it's a 1 for 7. You don't really know exactly what you're going to get offensively, but what you're getting defensively, and you're getting an elite rim protector. And he's to have a young player that can bring that on a nightly basis, and then it is just somewhat of a wild card in terms of what he's going to get you offensively. He's one of the funnest players I find, just funnest young players to sort of watch and monitor over his growth. So I thought he had a fun series as well. In that blowout game, that was wild. That was another just stunning, performance when the Grizzlies were up by 55 points at one point on the Warriors. And, that's the playoffs. It's just full of all these wacky little storylines. So that was a fun series to watch.
When it comes to Memphis, I can tell you, having 2 young pillars who are clearly just so talented, and I know it's not nearly the same as Jason and Jalen who play on the wing, but 2 guys who that you have and are going to be cornerstones of your franchise. Then once you can start to build around them and you get the right players, which I think that if a player is going to go to Memphis, that they have that baseline of grit and grind in them. And so you can build around that. So yes, I think Memphis's future is so bright, so fun to watch, but the future has been now for the Golden State Warriors. And I don't think anyone is surprised that they are back in the conference finals. And Brandon, are they your favorite to get through this series?
Yes, I think they have to be. Although, man, at what point do we stop betting against Luka Doncic? But back, talking about Golden State, it's just so much to deal with, right? Curry running around everywhere. Clay with the potential to get hot. We saw Game 6, Clay make an appearance last time out. Jordan Poole, the rise of Jordan Poole. It's just out of control. Draymond doing Draymond things. Then they have those random role players that step up here and there. Kuminga can slot in and give you some solid minutes. Kevin Looney had 22 rebounds in Game 6, 11 of which on the offensive end. So they have guys that they trust on that roster, and my camera just overheated again. But you can probably still hear me.
We can.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm going to go with Golden State. They're fun to watch, although I think it's going to be a tough series. They got their hands full.
Austin, talk Warriors to me and your view of this team right now.
Yes, the Warriors all season, ever since preseason, I just kind of felt like this sort of like dormant, like dragon that's asleep. I'm thinking like Hobbit vibes. It's just asleep with all its treasures. I feel like they're waking up, and it's not easy playing back into like game shape after you've been off, for so long, which Klay Thompson is doing. It was incredible seeing what he did in Game 6. Game 6 Klay, everyone was celebrating that. Are they all the way back? I don't know that they're all the way back to where they were, because there's other realities. Steph Curry's he's 34 years old now. That came quick to me. That's the cost of like 2 lost years, right? But one of the benefits of those is the development of people like Jordan Poole, who really kind of changes the dynamic of this team. The Warriors team that we're seeing now, isn't the Warriors team that won those titles with Kevin Durant. But are the pieces that remain, are they solid enough to sort of bring back that title? And I feel like they're probably the team I'd be most confident in. They're probably my title pick now that the Bucks are out. I can't really keep picking the Bucks, but so happy to sort of defer to the champions that have been there before, that have done it. But I mean, in the same way we saw sort of Phoenix just collapse at the hands of this Luka Mavs team, I don't know that you would see that from a team that's been there quite as often as the Warriors have. So, but what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so too. You cannot discount the heart of a champion. I think that's what carried the Bucks through that series with the Celtics without their second best player, and the fact that the Warriors have that to fall back on. And yes, Luka has been dominant. I understand the force that he is, but Draymond Green, they just have so many defenders to throw at him too. And then to be able, they're such a smart, well-coached team that they will be able to kind of figure everything out around that, I believe. So yes, I think the Warriors are there. Plus, I would like to go to San Francisco rather than Dallas. So that's who I'm pulling for. Totally selfish reasons.
That's the media way.
What'd you say, Brandon?
I said that's the media way. You just pick where you want to go. That's the team you pick.
Book some hotels and cross my fingers.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding. Someone in the comments asked me to talk about Deuce Tatum, Jason's son. Adorable, 4 years old. He's everywhere. And he is, can you imagine, you guys? I know, Austin, you have kids, right? Can you imagine having your son with you by your side as you go through an ascension to being a superstar in the NBA? It's really cool to watch. Deuce is there through every warm up, at least in Boston. He does travel a lot. He will be in Miami, I'm sure. And it's really cool that they get to do that. And then also Jason is pretty open with his Snapchat. And so we got to see Deuce at his first baseball practice the other day. He goes to gymnastics, he's 4 and he can ride a bike, which is more than I can say for my 6-year-old. So without training wheels, I know, which is a thing. Wow. So yeah, Deuce is awesome. And Austin, I just think it's been fun to, kind of sit on the sidelines and see that whole scene.
Yeah, what a special opportunity to be able to have, as a father, just to be able to have your kids tagging along with you, and it's fun for us that we can kind of be on the outside, getting those glimpses in. I think I saw him just hanging out with Daniel Tice in the locker room. I suspect that sort of thing happens. He just probably walks around like he owns the place, I imagine, which is kind of like a 4-year-old thing. So that's been fun.
That is something that the playoffs bring out, is the superstar children star dynamic. We got Riley Curry. What was that? A handful of years ago. I still remember that video. She was adorable. Last night we got to see Deuce. Chris Paul's kids are everywhere and adorable as well. So I guess they're getting older now, though, too.
When you see them, like, and this is for any kids really that when you see them from Tyler, next thing you know, they're like 12 or 13 or whatever. It's somewhat like, it's like, whoa, it makes you feel old. But Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan's kids were obviously very visible, like during that era of Raptors playoff basketball. So it's fun.
Okay, so guys, what has been your favorite series before we wrap this up of the playoffs? What was the most fun to watch, and which moments are you most excited about that are coming out in this series?
I'll start. I'll go Celtics Bucks. I mean, how could you not pick that one? Basically every game close up until the end. It was just intense. You could feel it. Yeah, and one of those things when you're playing the champs, no lead is safe. No lead is comfortable. And you could see that as that series played out. However, for a moment on the other side, from the losing team that we're going to get, is that epic Drew Holiday block in Game 5. Super clutch. Right before he makes the game-winning steal as well, that just kind of seals the deal. It's just Drew Holiday, doing Drew Holiday things. Yeah. Can't go wrong.
We have not mentioned him. He was incredible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My favorite series probably that I found myself just, most into this round was watching Memphis really just get a chance to take a shot at the Warriors. I thought that was fun. I would still say that my favorite round of the playoffs was that Memphis-Minnesota series, because that just had additional layers of chaos that just made for really exciting basketball. But I think the moment that I'm most excited to have this year, this round, is the Al Horford just cramming it on Giannis. The mean mug that precipitated it, the flex that followed it, like just watching any player turn back the clock like that is fun, regardless of the circumstance. But to see it in such a pivotal, playoff matchup, like that's something we'll remember. That's a permanent part of Horford's legacy, So definitely enjoyed being able to get that one.
He was not going to let the Celtics lose that game, and then in the moment, because you have the Al Horford dunk, right? You can't show Giannis earlier in the third quarter, the play that pissed Al off. And he told us afterwards, and Al is usually a very quiet, mild-mannered guy. And someone asked him about it, and he said, yeah, I don't even know what he said, but it was the wrong thing. And from that moment on, I knew he flipped a switch, and angry Al came out and took over that game at 34, 35 years old. Is incredible. So yeah, those good. I feel good. I was present for all of those moments. I feel lucky.
Maybe you'll be in one.
I was far away. Far away.
Why is the camera panning up there?
Way up in the corner. I was screaming though, pounding the table. I told you, but Al Horford.
I love that. Oh. Well, we're so happy for you. Being able to, anytime your team, you're like the team that you live and die by, makes it into a round at this stage, it's just so fun. So I'm excited for you.
And stressful. Fun and stressful.
Yeah, no, it was very stressful. Game 6, I was like, and then the superstition. So I tried to do everything the exact same for Game 7, and that was difficult as well. But it did exactly. I got to remember. I know. I need to start writing it down. You guys, thank you. This is so much fun. And this is what makes Top Shot so much fun, because we're all just fans of the game. I can't wait to get my hands on these moments and to see them and rip some packs. Oh my gosh, if you rip a pack and you get that Al Horford moment, like how would you not sit there and scream? It would be awesome. So Austin Kent, Brandon Soule, thank you so much for letting me go on about my Celtics. Let's meet up before the finals, right?
Let's do it. Thanks, Abby. Thanks so much. That was fun.
It's time now, though, for the wheel, which means we got to bring in everyone's favorite or most hated. Love him, hate him. He is the man, and that is Matt Shore, the mastermind behind the flash challenges for NBA Top Shot. What is that? Is that Larry Bird? Luka.
Yeah, sorry. Suns fans, avert your eyes, but this man just did it to you. Whew.
He is the man.
What a performance. Halftime, Luka 27, Suns 27. You'd be hard-pressed to find another playoff game with something like that. Just really, really crazy stuff there.
In a Game 7.
Yeah.
On the road.
Unreal. And as you can see, I've already switched to Philly season, who
Okay.
immediately blew a 9th inning lead last night. So, I mean, par for the course for Philadelphia.
How are you feeling, Matt? Because Austin, we talked about it, pretty optimistic. Things, you guys can figure it out. It was a short runway into the playoffs.
Yeah. Man, being a Sixers fan is tough, I'll tell you. We drafted Markelle Fultz instead of Jason Tatum. In fact, we traded to get Markelle Fultz, and we gave away another pick for that. We traded Zaire Smith for Michael Bridges, and we used the pick from that to get Tobias Harris. I think I'd rather have Michael Bridges, seeing what he's doing in his career on both ends of the court. Ben Simmons obviously is now gone. Our other first-round picks really haven't panned out too much. Maxey is like the guy. Is this a guy that we can build around? And quite frankly, in Sixers circles, we talk about Maxey like we talked about Iverson. The way he plays the game, his love for the game, his passion, the fact that he's always out there just smiling and happy. But when you get him angry, he goes off, and he does it with a smile, which is probably even more unsettling than if he did it with a scowl. So, Joe has been back-to-back runner-up and MVP. And I hate saying this, but there's a common denominator here. We've changed coaches. We've changed all-star players. We've changed who's around Joel Embiid, yet we keep returning to the same result. And we can blame it on injuries, but quite frankly, he plays out of control. And he gets injuries every season. There's a common denominator here, and it hurts my heart to even say that, but everything else around him has changed and the result has stayed the same. And at some point, the definition of sanity is trying things over and over again and expecting a different result. It'll be interesting offseason to see what occurs here.
It will be an interesting offseason. Matt, let me talk you off the ledge. While everything around Joel has changed, I would say for a long time, it was him and Ben Simmons and trying to figure that out and what the pieces are around that. And clearly what they had is not. Al Horford is not the answer. And then you bring in the new coaching staff with Doc and Daryl Morey, who, did what he did when it came to acquiring James Harden and also not being moved to make any sort of move before that. And to be fair, you did have more production out of James Harden than you would have out of Ben Simmons in the postseason. So I don't think it's fair to say that the pieces around Joel have changed because, yes, that's true. But there are so many extenuating circumstances, particularly when it comes to the Sixers. I mean, you're right. It's
Murphy's Law.
You guys have dealt with so much, whether it's popping collars. I mean, what the behind the back messaging, I don't even know all of the
boy. The Colangelo years.
All amidst it is Joel. So
it's been tough. It's been tough.
I would say don't lose the faith in Joel just yet. I would give that another season.
In Philadelphia, we have a great phrase. There's always next year.
How are the Phillies doing?
Not great, but that's okay. That's what I thought. So let's
do the wheel.
Let's go to the wheel, shall we?
What's happening? Yeah, on that happy note, what's happening? Yeah. Oh yeah, are you gonna pay? What are you gonna do with James Harden, real quick?
Well, I mean, you guys were talking about his player option. He forgot to opt in by the deadline, so we could just do nothing, quite frankly. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that option is available because he missed his opt-in deadline. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. He doesn't have any leverage anymore, so it'll be interesting.
Okay. It will be interesting. Let's say that. The wheel, always interesting. Flash challenge for the conference finals. Tell me about it. What's going on?
Yeah, so let's go through this real quick. So, a couple changes to the challenge construction here. Obviously, we have the wheel for the stats. Same thing as the last two rounds. You're going to need the top 5 players in the series, cumulative, for the 2 stats that come up here. And then as it was in the last round, you're going to need 2 moments thank you for the graphic here. So you'll need, for the Boston-Miami series, you're going to need the 2 Celtics moments that are in the round 2 common drop. You're going to need the 2 Miami Heat moments. You're going to need the 2 Milwaukee Bucks moments, and you're going to need the 2 Philadelphia 76ers moments. You're going to need each of those 8 moments Obviously, you can use any challenge award in place of those moments or all of them if you want to do that. And then where this one differs, so those 13 are the same. Where this one differs, you're going to need 2 challenge award moments guaranteed, one from each of the Eastern Conference semifinals winners. So one from the one from the Celtics and one from the Heat. And then any 2 2021 challenge awards. So just to go through that real quick again, you're going to need the top 5 players cumulative in the stat. You're going to need the 8 moments that come out for those 4 teams. You're going to need 2 challenge awards, one from each of the 2 teams. So each team will have 2 challenge awards, and then lastly, you're going to need 2 challenge awards from the 2021 playoffs. So you're going to need a total of 17 moments. Obviously, these things get a little bit tougher. One thing you will notice is you no longer need a rare or legendary from either team. Those have been replaced with these challenge award requirements, and it also gets some awesome use for the 2021 playoff moments, as well as all the challenge awards. So really awesome on that. And so,
is there any rookie challenge or lesser?
Nope, this is just the one tier, just like it has been in the playoffs. We look at these as sort of pseudo set challenges. You're needing every moment in the set to complete these challenges, but there's also some external factors that you need to complete it. Makes it a little bit interesting. In the Sixers series, not last round, but the round before, Paul Reed came in. He had one moment on Top Shot, 12,000, and that made it interesting. So you never know who's going to ball out. A guy like Max Strus at a point earlier in the season only had one moment, and he was kind of the guy that people were like, oh no, Max Strus, and now it's like, okay, Max is here to stay. So just always fun to watch and see what happens there.
It is really fun. And then the entire conversation that we just had with Austin and Brandon, I mean, that's why we're watching it. And then after seeing all of these moments, you want to have those in your collection. I know I do. And so, I mean, if you're going to have those moments, you might as well participate in the challenge and get rewarded for it. Are we releasing what the rewards are? What were the rewards for the last Flash Challenge?
Thank you for bringing that up. I meant to address that. So last round, everybody knows we gave the challenge awards out before the challenges ended. Round 2, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're going to announce all 4 challenge awards at the same time when the last challenge ends. Those will be announced quite publicly, so you'll see all of them. Apologize for the delay, but they will all come out together. You'll see them in all their glory. Look forward to that. I think everybody will be happy with the decisions there because Austin and Brandon really are crushing it.
There's no question. Everybody, I think, raises their level in the playoffs. Austin and Brandon are doing the same. All right, Matt, you ready to spin the wheel? I think we got through all the specifics.
Yep. Okay, so let's start off with the Eastern Conference, Celtics and Heat. Let's see what you're going to need from this series.
Okay. It's the one stat, right?
Yep. Oh, this is the one that can get a little crazy.
Yeah, it can. Oh my gosh. Okay.
There we go. Most blocks.
Okay.
So for the Celtics Heat series, you'll need the top 5 players cumulative, most blocks in the series. And, this is one of those categories that a bench player can easily win, a player that gets less minutes. It can even be a player, that doesn't play a lot of minutes. Maybe there's like a couple games that have garbage time and they get a bunch of blocks. You never know. So blocks is really a fun one to follow.
Yeah, it is, especially with these 2 teams. I mean, defensively, how good they are. And so much of, while you might not get the loud slams, I think that, Al Horford, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, we saw in that last series, Drew Holiday coming from behind. Marcus Smart can do that on a regular basis. Unfortunately, I'm not sure when we're going to see the Time Lord because that man, so good at rim protection. But yeah, this is a fun category, and who doesn't love to cheer for blocks?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I love how these 2 teams match up. It's going to be a really fun series. As a Sixers fan, I obviously hate the Celtics, always have, always will, but it doesn't change the fact that 2 of my 5 favorite players in the league are on the Celtics in Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. God, would I love them on my team. The way they play at both ends of the floor, the way they get their teammates involved is just, is what makes this team work. I know Tatum scores a lot, but without Brown and Smart, this team is not a contender. So really excited to see what they can do in this series, and they're very much in the mix for most blocks for sure.
Matt, I knew there was a reason we got along so well. I will say, someone in the comments calling me a Sixers hater. I'm just a Celtics fan, so it's automatic that you have to be a Sixers
for
hater.
For sure.
They go one in one, hand in hand. Kev's worried I'm bullying everyone. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just speaking the truth.
Well, I mean, if you go back if you go back in history, though, like we sometimes have teams we hate together. Like when the Sixers went on to finally win a championship, the Celtics fans in Boston were chanting "Beat LA." So there is some history there that we can work together. And as painful as it can be seeing Boston win, I don't know if Jimmy Butler is going to be any better for me to watch him win. So I'm rooting for Luka and Steph in the Western Conference.
We're not bad people. We just are passionate sports fans. So
for sure. All right, so let's shift over to Western Conference, shall we? To
spin the wheel.
Let's answer this question. Real quick. So, and we're going to put this challenge live on site so you can read this. It's going to be very clear. We're going to have it spaced out beautifully. You can see everything very clearly, but you'll need 2 challenge awards from the 2022 playoffs. So, after this next drop comes out, before this challenge ends, obviously, you're going to have a new challenge award for the Heat. You're going to have a new challenge award for the Celtics. Each team will have 2 challenge awards. You're going to need 1 of each of those instead of a rare from either team. And then you'll need 2 2021 playoff challenge awards. Any challenge award, any team for the 2021 challenge awards. And like I said, we're going to put this out in writing. You'll be able to see it. You'll read through it, dissect it however you want. And we'll have that out shortly after the stream ends.
Okay, let's spin the wheel, Matt, and then we will go through it again because you need 17 moments for each challenge. Each series is its own challenge.
Oh, it's close. I don't know.
Oh, go field goals. What is it?
Field goals.
I love cheering for field goals so much better than free throws.
Yes. Yeah. Free throws can get a little wild though.
Yeah.
But yeah, most field goals made, you're going to be looking at, the top players, obviously.
Oh my
you're going to be looking at Steph. You're going to be looking at Luka. You're going to be looking at Clay, Jordan Poole, Jalen Brunson, potentially Spencer Dinwiddie. You're going to be looking at those volume shooters, shooters shoot. And so, this will be a really fun one. These are most likely going to be very high scoring games, whereas Boston Miami is going to look like basketball from 2003. Very, very different styles of play in both conferences. It will be a really cool style clash in the finals.
Dragging it out. Oh my gosh. That's going to be so fun. I love that it's field goals made there. And I mean, it's top 5 cumulative players. So it could be 4 Warriors and then Luka.
Absolutely. Could potentially be 4 Warriors and Luka. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, you're right. Style. And then the fact that we get to watch games every night, every other night, and it'll be so fun. And for all basketball fans out there, everyone will get a little something. If you like defense, if you like gritty physical play, you got that in the East. If you like watching Steph, just the beauty, the beautiful basketball, the beautiful game.
The Splash Bros. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
and Draymond too, the fire that he brings. I love watching Draymond.
I talked about my top 5. Draymond's in there. Nice. The other 2 players in that top 5, beside Draymond, Smart, and Jaylen Brown, are John Morant and Luka Doncic. So those are the 5 guys.
Joel's out of there, or this is your non-Sixer top 5.
That's my top 5. Those are the top 5 players I enjoy watching on a nightly basis. Maybe it's just being a Philadelphia fan. You never enjoy watching your own teams. That might be part of it, but I just love watching those 5 guys on a nightly basis. The effort, the talent, it's so much fun to watch.
It's a pretty good 5.
Yeah.
I love that Draymond's in there. Yes. I feel like that tells us a lot about you, Matt. And
I'm from Philly. I like the grittiness. I like the guys that you absolutely hate unless they're on your team. Like those are the guys that I gravitate to. Like I gravitated to Bruce Brown. I like PJ Tucker. I love those guys that just go out there and make people's lives miserable. That's why I love TJ McConnell. I love Jose Alvarado. I love those type of players. I love the guys that just go out there and leave it on the court every night. And those are the guys that, Philly fans gravitate to. Why we love Joe going out there with a broken orbital and a torn ligament in his hand and coming off a concussion. and he's playing. So like we love that type of stuff. We love the guys that just love the game and go out there and play every game like it's their last. So very fun group of players to watch there.
And I hope the Top Shot family, they either love the game or they love the game of collecting moments. And there is passion and fire and some, strategy and all of that too. So more power to everyone. We've got something for everybody. But okay, Matt.
Should I go back through this one more time? A nice little summary. All right.
And so for every challenge, you need 17 total moments, right?
Correct. So you need the top 5 players. So Boston, Miami, you need the top 5 players in blocks cumulatively over the series. Golden State, Dallas, you'll need the most field goals made. Then you'll need the 8 moments from the 2 teams in the series and the 2 teams they just beat. Just like the last round. In that way, you will be using every single moment that came out that will be coming out for the round 2 playoffs. So those are 8 moments. You'll need all 8 of those, or you can substitute challenge rewards in those slots. But keep in mind, you'll also need challenge rewards from 2022 from each of the teams, as well as any 2 from 2021. Like I said, we'll have this up on site very shortly, so you can read it, digest it a little bit more. I know sometimes it can get a little bit convoluted, but the way we built this one, it uses every moment. If you're collecting everything, you're going to need every single moment. So that's a great way to do it, we think. And, just excited to watch these series and cheer them on. And it should be a lot of fun.
And Matt, now that you've explained it, I think it's so cool how this has developed. There was a different flash challenge for every series in that first round. So you had the ability to get 8 different rewards challenges, right? And the same going forward. And yes, it's going to be more difficult. It's more difficult for these teams getting through. This is going to be a challenging conference final series for everyone involved, even the fans, especially. I think I can say that after watching the Celtics and Bucks for 7 straight games. Yeah. But it's all worth it. Those moments, the Al Horford dunk that we just talked about over Giannis, and just the emotion that
so good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that he had in that moment. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it in sports. It's so incredible. So Matt, I'm really excited. I'm excited for this next round. Knocking the wheel out of the park, but staying true to you. Nothing comes easy.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is those of you that like the daily challenges, they will be coming back. There will be more opportunity to win and then there were a 4-pack. There will be more opportunity to win common playoff packs. So stay tuned. Those will be coming.
Stay tuned. Thank you, Brandon, so much. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Matt. I had so much fun today. We will be back for the finals. Yeah. Thank you, Luca. Great job. Everyone, happy Monday, Top Shot fam, and happy collecting.
Let's go boom.